LTFRB board member ISNILON says the presence of numerous leftist groups in today's transport strike is a clear indication that the movement is not just about the jeepney modernization program. She says authorities believe this is a deliberate move to destabilize the government and its plans. Bayan, Kilusang Mayo Uno, and Gabriela are just among the left-leaning groups that have participated in the street demonstrations today.
Yesterday's statement was confirmed this morning by one of the leaders of one of the organizers of this strike. Where is it coming from? This is supposed to be modernization. Why are they putting that now at issue in this concern? They are trying to confuse the people. Are they not politicizing the issue? Who is doing it? It's not us. Ang kaharap dapat namin, jeepney drivers, transport leaders. Bakit ang kaharap namin ngayon ay mga KMU at akbayan? What do they have to do with transportation?
Contrary to Lizada's claims, Piston President George San Mateo says these groups have vowed to support them. He adds these groups represent the passengers who are also going to be affected by the fare surge that the modernization program will impose.
Ikinatuwa ng mga senador ang balitang napatay na ang militar o ng militar sina ISNILON HAPILON at OMAR MAUTE. Sabi ni Senador Joel Villanueva, dapat ang pagtuunan ng pansin ng gobyerno ang rehabilitasyon ng Marawi. Dapat daw ay magtulungan ang national at lokal na pamahalaan para masiguro ang mabilis na pagbibigay ng tulong sa mga apektado ng gyera. Sabi naman ni Senador Sunny Angara, kailangang masiguro ng gobyerno na makabalik ng maayos sa Marawi ang mga residente nito. Naniniwala naman ang senador na malapit nang matapos ang gulo sa lungsod. Si Senador Antonio TRILLANES naman sinabing tribute o honor sa lahat ng sundalo ang pagpatay sa dalawang terorista. Kaya dapat na raw magsimula ang pagtulong sa pagbangon sa Marawi at ang healing process sa lahat ng apektado. Para naman kay Senador J.V. Ejercito, isang malaking panalo ang pagkamatay ng dalawa kontra sa tinatawag na violent extremism. Pero sana raw ay nag-iwan ito ng aral na siyang magpapalakas ng intel at counterterrorism initiatives ng gobyerno.
Umani rin ang papuri sa Kamara ang AFP matapos ang pagkakapatay ng teroristang sina ISNILON HAPILON at OMAR MAUTE. Kasama na rito ang kritiko ng Pangulo na si Magdalo Party List Representative Gary Alejano. Maituturing daw tagumpay ng Pilipinas ang pagkakapatay sa dalawang terorista. Sinaluduhan din niya ang mga sundalo at opisyal ng AFP na lumaban para sa Marawi. Hiniling ni Alejano na sana ay alisin na ni Pangulong Duterte ang martial law sa Mindanao. Mahalaga raw kasi ito sa muling pagbangon ng Marawi at para maging normal na ang buhay ng mga Maranao. Naniniwala naman si Congressman Rufy Biazo na napilayan na ang mga terorista dahil sa pagkamatay ng kanilang matataas na pinuno. Pero dapat daw na pagtuunan ng pansin ng gobyerno ang mental health ng mga sundalo na sumabak sa bakbakan. Posible raw kasi ang post-traumatic stress disorder sa kanila matapos ang labanan. Kailangan daw kasing normal sila bago bumalik sa normal na buhay.
The war in Marawi may not be over just yet, but it's still a day of victory for the government troops as they confirm the death of two terrorist leaders, ISNILON HAPILON and OMAR MAUTE. Our George Cahiles has the details from Ground Zero.
Images of two men soaked in their own blood reached the media early morning Monday. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana confirms they're the ones who led ISIS-inspired fighters in Marawi, ISNILON HAPILON and OMAR MAUTE.
Yes, I confirm the killing of HAPILON ISNILON at saka Omar MAUTE this morning, early this morning. Following their operational plan, they were able to do it this morning. They were able to get HAPILON ISNILON and Omar MAUTE. They were both killed.
Lorenzana says HAPILON and MAUTE were with 5 others killed in a military operation near the lake. The battle took around 4 hours from 2 to 6 in the morning. A rescued hostage told the military where the two leaders were located.
They were able to get a testimony from a hostage that was able to escape. And she, kasi babae siya, she was able to confirm the presence of ISNILON and MAUTE in that particular building. So that's the building that they assaulted this morning, early this morning.
Authorities say the deaths of MAUTE and HAPILON signal the end of the war soon. Lorenzana even says this may happen in a couple of days. The military is still clearing remaining buildings in the main battle area, rescuing dozens of civilians and neutralizing remaining fighters, including Malaysian national Mahmud Ahmad, believed to have financed the attack in Marawi.
We are going to that very, very soon. We're moving towards the end of this fighting very, very soon. It will weaken the organization, and we will expect a lot of surrenderies from their ranks.
Meantime, DNA testing will be carried out on HAPILON and MARAWI. Both have bounties. From Marawi City, George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
Armed Forces Chief General Eduardo Año also reports 20 civilians were rescued this morning. Año thanks all the soldiers for their hard work and patience in the past 147 days of the crisis.
Nawala lahat ng pagod. Everybody is, what you call that, happy, ecstatic, exhilarating feeling. Finally, it paid off, and so this is really a team effort. And I'm happy that I'm able to contribute, and I'm able to lead the armed forces in this critical time.
CNN Philippines spoke with Joint Task Group Ranao Deputy Commander Colonel Romeo Bronner. He says the troops' morale is high after the deaths of HAPILON and MFUTE, but he's quick to add they're not going to celebrate just yet. Bronner also recounts the early Monday military operations.
It was really very difficult. In fact, it happened during the early hours of the day. Nangyari po ito between 1:30 to 2 in the morning. So it was really very dark. It was difficult to traverse, to find their way. And also there were a lot of improvised explosive devices along the way, so they had to avoid this. But more than that, foremost in the minds of our soldiers was the safety of the hostages. So while they were assaulting the defensive positions, they were also thinking, and they were very careful because they were thinking of the safety of the hostages. Because of that development, our soldiers are very happy. This was one of the objectives that we were trying to achieve. Aside from rescuing the hostages, one of the objectives that was given to us was to neutralize the members of the MFUTE ISIS, especially the leaders, ISNILON, HAPILON, and the MFUTE brothers. And so we were able to do that today. So really, if you come here to the main battle area, dito po sa Marawi rin, mataas po ang moral ngayon ng ating mga tropa. As mentioned by the President Duterte, we are not going to celebrate this victory because really, wala pong panalo dito sa gera na ito. And then after once the firefight is over, we will have to clear the area of improvised explosive devices, booby traps, and unexploded ordnance. And then after that, the Department of Health will have to come in to sanitize the area because marami pong mga sakit ngayon dun sa area. In fact, our soldiers, some of our soldiers got sick of dengue, typhoid fever, and other viral infections.
With the battle for Marawi City expected to end soon, what comes next? Our senior correspondent David Santos tells us authorities are working to slowly bring back and rebuild what was destroyed.
Probably the biggest story coming out of Marawi in a long while. The slaying of the MFUTE group's core leaders on Monday signals what could be the end of nearly 5 months of death and violence that has left a city in shambles. While this may be seen as a major defeat for MFUTE and ISIS, the mayor of Marawi cautions people that this is not yet a cause for celebration.
We do not want so much fanfare dahil hindi ito yung bang parang nanalo ka sa isang competition. Maraming nabuwis na buhay from our government troops as well as civilians.
1, 2. Despite the subdued reaction, signs of hope appear. The same day, ISNILON, HAPILON, and OMAR MFUTE are killed. Electricity is restored in most parts of Marawi and Lanao del Sur.
The simple reason really is after 4 months of darkness, we are moving towards the light.
Bringing back basic utilities such as power is not a simple matter since the fighting continues.
Yung linya, yung main line na papunta doon sa mga towns around the lake, pass through the city proper. Ngayon, nasira yung city proper. So, Lasoreco had to build a temporary distribution line. Parang nag-divert siya.
So we work it for 3 days po talaga doon mismo sa war zone area.
There are also ongoing discussions on how Marawi's rebuilding should be carried out. Renowned architect June Palafox toured parts of the war zone also on Monday.
It makes you cry. I've been in post-disaster rehab, big earthquakes, tsunamis, big floods, and this is the first time, aside from ground zero in Manhattan, this is worse.
Palafox is volunteering his services to draft proposals on how the new Marawi will look like. Over the weekend, leaders of traditional royal families in Lanao insist that the rehab plan should be sensitive to both the Maranao culture and Islam. Among the conditions they're setting, foreign military camps as well as recreational centers like casinos and gambling establishments should be strictly prohibited. Schools, hospitals, and mosques should be prioritized in the reconstruction, and residents living in the military reservation area for more than a decade should not be driven out.
Ang mga lupa na yan ay para sa amin talaga yan. Hindi namin alam na may mga military reservation pala.
They also seek compensation for those who lost their homes in the conflict. The local government is proposing a 16 billion peso fund to pay homeowners as part of a 47 billion package to rehabilitate Marawi. In Marawi City, David Santos, CNN Philippines.
Despite criticism, majority of Filipinos continue to support the government's war on drugs. The latest Pulse Asia survey shows all respondents are aware of the campaign against illegal drugs, and 88% of them support it. Data show it has basically the same levels of support from across geographic areas and socio-economic groupings. Only 2% do not back the campaign. The survey also shows more Filipinos believe the allegation that extrajudicial killings, or EJKs, occur in anti-drug operations. 73% of the respondents say they do. This is up by 6 percentage points from the recorded 67% in June. The survey was conducted among 1,200 respondents nationwide from September 24 to 30. It was during this period that the filing of double murder charges against a Caloocan City policeman implicated in the killing of teenagers Carl Arnaiz and Reynaldo de Guzman made headlines. Also in the news was President Duterte and PNP Chief Bato de la Rosa denying any state policy to kill drug suspects under the drug war. Malacanang is pleased with the news that majority of Filipinos support the war on drugs. Presidential spokesman Ernie Abella says the result shows that the people appreciate the administration's efforts to reduce the incidence of crime and make the streets safer and communities more peaceful. On the respondents believing that EJKs are happening, Abella says they understand why they think so. He cites the massive media coverage of the teenagers' killings in Caloocan during the survey period. Abella, however, says these suspicions must always be validated by investigation and evidence. PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa says he will ask the president to allow policemen to once again lead the war on drugs. That is, if he sees that the PDEA or Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is not doing its job. President Duterte ordered the PDEA on October 10 to take over all anti-drug operations from the PNP amid allegations of police abuses and extrajudicial killings related to the drug war.
Pag titingnan natin, lumala na ng gusto, bumalik na naman sa dati na makabili ka ng shabu diyan sa kalsada na yung transaction ng shabu open na wala na nakikialam, di ba? Siguro, volunteer ng President, sir, ibalik nyo kami dahil huwag natin pabayaan ito na maging kawawa ang Pilipinas. If we don't value life, we value money, then we just receive money from the drug lords. Dito, magbigay ka ng pera sa amin, tanggapin namin, din huwag namin pakialaman yung drug situation. But because we value life, kaya tayo nag-wage ng drugs.
Thousands of jeepney drivers across the country stopped operations today and took to the streets to protest the government's jeepney modernization program. Their protests will continue tomorrow. Some local authorities had moved to lessen the impact of the strike by canceling classes and work early on. They also deployed government vehicles to service stranded commuters. Transport Group Piston says it crippled most of the jeepney routes across the country, but authorities are disputing that claim. Cian Arcangel reports.
Almost 1 in the afternoon, and John Azares was still finding it hard to ride a jeep going to Marikina from Cubao due to the transport strike staged by the Group Piston. Despite the cancellation of classes and work in government offices by Malacanang, some commuters still waited longer to ride a jeep.
Medyo punuan kasi yung mga jeep ngayon eh. Yung dati may painat-inot na dumadaan. Yan, pagdating ng barangka, konti na lang eh.
Piston President George San Mateo calls the first day of their transport strike a success, claiming they have paralyzed 90% of the jeepney routes all over the country. Citing information from Piston ground officials, San Mateo says at least 80% of jeepney routes in several cities in Metro Manila were paralyzed because their members stopped driving their jeeps.
Ganitong oras pa lang ay matagumpay na matagumpay ang unang araw ng ating tigil pasada.
But in a message to reporters, LTFRB board member Aileen Lizada contradicted this, saying that less than 1% of commuters was affected by the strike. She says the impact of the protest was reduced considerably due to the deployment of buses offering free rides to commuters. Past 9 a.m., militant leaders in Cubao were locked in a tense discussion with the police on the space they were occupying on the road. The police wanted the protesters to stick to one lane, but militant leaders led by Gabriela Women's Party representative Arlene Brosas took issue with the line cops formed around them.
Alam ko nga po na hindi kayo dapat nandyan eh. Dapat kayo nakatabi.
Dapat wala rito.
NCRPO Chief Oscar Albayalde soon arrived and ordered police to make sure the protesters stick to one lane to avoid causing traffic along Aurora Boulevard.
Payagan sila mag-rally, pero yung para makaabala na sila ng ibang tao, hindi na tama yun.
San Mateo insists Piston doesn't mean to cause inconvenience to commuters, but they just want the government to hear their opposition to the Department of Transportation's jeepney modernization program. He says this will just put both operators and drivers into debt since a new jeepney costs at least 1.3 million pesos.
Ito na lang pagta-transport strike namin, ang dahilan, kaya yung gobyerno ay nagkakandap pilipit sa pagpapatupad nitong programa. Talagang hindi kaya. At ang computation mo dyan, 800 pesos a day, yan ang sabi ni Lizada eh. Pero actually, nung kinompute namin, batay doon sa sinasabi nila, lumalabas 864 pesos per day eh. For the next 7 years.
Piston will push through with the second day of the transport strike tomorrow, and San Mateo is hoping more drivers will join the protest. Cian Arcangel, CNN Philippines.
The camp of Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno speaks up on the recent drop in the Chief Justice's trust ratings. Sereno spokesperson Winnie Salombides says Sereno is not bothered by it. She adds that despite the impeachment try, the Chief Justice remains focused on her mandate. The Chief Justice was out today to grace the World Pandesal Day celebration at a Quezon City bakery. The Chief Justice made no mention about the ongoing impeachment try against her, but in addressing her former neighborhood and childhood friends, she advised them not to be afraid, especially when they have not done any wrong.
The Chief Justice is not really worried about yung mga trust ratings, yung mga survey results. In the first place, kahit sinong tao, pagka palagi ang pinupukol ng mga intriga, ng kung ano-ano mga issue, pag pinupukol lagi ng putik, kahit sinong tao, natural talaga na kahit papano madudungisan.
Here are some top stories from around the world. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is supporting diplomatic efforts with North Korea, but he adds that these efforts will only continue until, quote, the first bomb drops. Tillerson also said prioritizing diplomacy to curb Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions is President Donald Trump's preferred avenue. Despite a statement on Twitter that suggested diplomacy won't work, Tillerson said Mr. Trump wants to avoid violence. The number of deaths in a double car bombing in Somalia reached at least 276 people, making it the deadliest incident in Somalia's history. 300 more remain in hospitals. The blasts happened Saturday. The first hit a popular hotel in the capital of Mogadishu. A second car bomb exploded nearby just a few minutes later. Somali police say they were chasing one of the cars when the blast happened. There have been no claims of responsibility so far. The Office of the President announced Sunday the nation will observe 3 days of mourning. And good news for Filipino travelers. Taiwan grants visa-free entry for Filipinos starting November 1st. The Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in the Philippines says visa-free entry will be allowed for visits up to 14 days. There will be a 9-month trial period for this until July 31st, 2018. The Taipei Economic and Cultural Office says this is part of Taiwan's goodwill and effort to have more Filipinos and Taiwanese visit each other's countries and economic relations between the two countries. Entertainment news now. Actress Catherine Bernardo stands up to cyberbullying. On Instagram, the La Luna Sangre star says, quote, "Being called names is painful, but one good thing about pain is it teaches you something. It teaches you that you are more than hurtful words and labels," unquote. She goes on to say, "You are more than the flaws that people see. You are more than their victim." Bernardo's social media post appears to be a response to the alleged criticisms of internet star Xander Ford, formerly known as Marlu Arizala. A video supposedly featuring Xander is making the rounds online. In the clip, you can hear a voice that seems to be his criticizing Bernardo's legs. But Xander was quick to deny these allegations. Xander's management has released a statement on the issue. It says, quote, "Star Image Artist Management will not and will never tolerate misbehavior of its artists," unquote. The statement also says Xander will do a tell-all soon.